when you freshly install Windows 10 on a computer, or you go buy one off the shelf at your local computer store, you're going to have to go through something called the OOBE, or out-of-box experience. That's where you set up your initial username and then some telemetry information. In other words, what's going to be sent to Microsoft, whether you want to use Cortana, and several other things within Windows. Now, it's going to be a little different with each version of Windows 10. That is to say, with each semi-annual update, it seems that OOBE changes quite a bit. Now, I'm using, let me see, this is a virtual machine, and let's see what version this is. I'm going to type WINVER, WinVer, and I'll run that command. And this is 1909, build 18363.418. Alright, so this is a little bit older version, but let's take a look at the OOBE, and the interesting thing is you can rerun it at any point. Before I do this, I want to take a look at the users on this machine. So I'm going to type lusrmgr.msc, loser manager. I always call it loser. Users are losers sometimes. I'm going to type loser manager and go to users, and you see I've got a Roger account on here, and the Roger member, that is, in other words, its group membership is it's a member of administrators. Now, the interesting thing is that the first account on a machine when you first set it up is a member of the administrators group. If you add any other users after that, let's add a user. I'm going to right click and type new user, and we'll make a user named Fred. Full name Fred, and let's give him a password. And we'll say password never expires. Alright, Fred has been created on here. Let's right click Fred, go to properties, and you'll see that Fred is now a member of the users group. Fred does not have administrative privileges. Anytime you add a new user to a machine that's already running, it adds that user as a regular user, not as an administrator. Only the first one is as an administrator. That's going to become important here in a little bit. So let's now see how I can rerun that OOBE experience even though this machine is already running. So what I'm going to do is open the file manager. I'm going to go to C, Windows, System 32, and then down to something called sysprep. It's a folder, sysprep. There it is. And within sysprep, we're going to run the sysprep.exe. You can't tell it's a .exe. What I like to do on all my machines is turn on view and then turn on file name extensions. Now you can see that it's a .exe. I'm going to go ahead and run sysprep. Now I have some options here. I have two of them, as a matter of fact. Audit mode and out-of-box experience. Now audit mode is used by administrators, for example, when they want to add drivers and things in order to set this machine up, to install it to network computers and so on. But what we want is the out-of-box experience. Now, this generalized option gives us a chance to delete things like the computer SID or system ID. Again, I would use that if I want to set this up in order to push it out to a lot of different computers. I don't want all the computers on my network, on my domain, to have the same system ID. Things wouldn't work very well. So I'm not going to turn that on. I just want to run this OOBE. And then I have an option to quit, reboot, or shut down. I'm going to choose reboot, and I'm going to click OK. So we're going to run this out-of-box experience here. It's going to take a moment. I'll speed things up as we wait. Okay, here we go. We are now looking at the out-of-box experience. This is the same stuff that you would set up when you first get the computer. I'll choose United States. I'll choose that I want the US keyboard. I do not want a second keyboard, so I'll skip that. We'll speed things up here. Okay, now we want to know whether we want to get the latest feature update, which is ready to download. I'm just going to skip that for now. Here's the license agreement. I want to set this up for personal use. I'm not going to join it to a domain. Now it wants me to either put in my Microsoft account or create a Microsoft account. I don't want either one of those. I'm going to choose offline account. This is another reminder trying to get me to go with that Microsoft account. I'm just going to say limited experience. And now who's going to use this PC? Now here's something interesting I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put in Roger, which is the username that I initially started with, and click next, and look at this. Please type a different username. So one thing we know already is that this doesn't reset everything on the PC. It only allows us to change some of those options we originally set up. The Roger account is already still there. As a matter of fact, the Fred account would already still be there as well. So let's put a Wilma account. And let's give Wilma a password. Let's confirm it. And now we have some security questions. And I'm just going to make up some things. I'm not going to use the stuff that I normally use because I don't want to give that away. So your pet's first name, we'll just say Rover. And the city you were born in, I'll say Chicago. And childhood nickname, I'll just put Bonehead. All right. Now we want to know whether we want to keep activity history. I'll say no. After all, this is just a virtual machine. Do I want the Cortana digital assistant? No. And since this is just a virtual machine, I'm just going to turn off all of these telemetry options. In other words, send nothing back to Microsoft. Well, it will send some things back to Microsoft. That's mandatory, but these are the optional things anyway. I'll say accept that. And now we will speed things up as this continues to set everything up. All right, here we go. We're back. Now I want to take another look at those users. Losermanager.msc. And here's our Roger account and our Fred account. Now you'll remember our Roger account had an administrator group membership. Our Fred account had a user group membership, but what about Wilma? Wilma has an administrator group membership. So that administrator group membership is coming from that OOBE experience. Now you can certainly change if I'm logged on as Roger or Wilma or Fred. I can, well, as Roger or Wilma, I can change Fred's group membership to administrator if I want to. As a matter of fact, who am I logged on as? Go to settings here and go down to accounts, your info, and I am logged on as Wilma right now. Now Wilma is an administrator, so Wilma could change Fred's membership if she wants to. Let's go back to Loser Manager, and we'll go to Fred, member of, we'll add administrators, and we'll remove users. There, now Fred is a member of administrators. We'll apply that. Okay. What's the difference between apply and OK? Well, apply applies it and then leaves this open. OK applies it and closes it. That's the only real difference. So anyway, now you've learned that we have not changed everything on the system. For example, all the personalization. If I had a different background on the desktop, for example, that would stay the same. So it's not resetting the PC back to its original brand new state, even though it looks like it is, because that's what you go through when you have a new PC. But it is changing some of those options that I had at the beginning. Those things like the telemetry data and keyboard and so forth. So that is a way we can get into that and change all that if we want.